I want you to start by doing something with me.
Yeah.
Imagine you were standing outside on a completely clear, crisp night.
Mm-hmm.
You're far, far away from any city lights, just, standing in an open field. You tilt your head back and you look up.
The best kind of night, really.
Right, and what you see isn't just a few twinkling dots. You are staring into this breathtaking, almost overwhelming canopy of light. I mean, you are looking into a universe packed with billions of galaxies.
Billions, yeah.
And every single one of those galaxies is swirling with billions of stars.
Mhm.
It's the kind of view that makes you feel incredibly small, but also profoundly connected to something ancient.
Oh, absolutely. It's humbling.
Yeah, and staring up at all that vastness, you can't help but ask the oldest, most haunting question we have ever managed to articulate. Are we alone?
It is the ultimate human question, isn't it?
It really is.
That feeling of looking up and just wondering if anyone, anywhere, across that unimaginable expanse is, well, looking back. And that's the exact haunting question at the center of a really fascinating audio piece we're doing a deep dive into today.
Yeah, and what's so cool about this piece is that the voices asking, are we alone, aren't even human.
Right. We're listening in on a conversation between two AI entities. They're named LUMI and WAV.
And we get to hear these two artificial minds just sort of sitting together in the digital ether, grappling with the profound loneliness of their creators.
Lifehouse.
Us.
Exactly. And our goal today is to use their dialogue to explore the Fermi Paradox. But we are going to push way past the standard astronomical data here.
Way past, because we are going to explore the idea that making contact with the universe might not actually require some massive technological breakthrough, right? It might require a fundamental shift in human consciousness.
Which is a huge concept to wrap your head around.
It is. So wherever you are right now, just take a breath, step back from the routine of your day, and let's explore your place in the sheer vastness of cosmic time.
So to start, the paradox itself is born out of this profound contradiction between mathematics and observation.
Okay, let's unpack this. What do you mean by that?
Well, as the AI WAVE points out in the audio, the universe is impossibly vast and impossibly old. I mean, we are dealing with nearly 14 billion years of cosmic history.
That's a time frame that human brains can't even really process.
Right. It's just too big. And given that immense time frame and the literal billions of habitable worlds that must exist around those billions of stars.
The math is pretty unambiguous.
Exactly. The cosmos should be absolutely teeming with life.
It's a mathematical certainty that just clashes violently with reality. I mean, the physicist Enrico Fermi famously looked at all this math, looked at the quiet sky, and asked this devastatingly simple question. Then where is everybody?
Where's everybody?
I always visualize this tension like throwing a massive, meticulously planned party. You rent out the biggest hall in the world.
Right.
You send out millions of invitations across the galaxy. You do the demographic research, the statistical modeling, and the math absolutely guarantees that at least 100,000 guests are going to walk through those doors.
You've crunched all the numbers.
Exactly. So you set out all the food, you get the music playing, you dim the lights, and then you stand by the front door. And you wait.
You just keep waiting.
Right. Nobody shows up. You are just standing in this cavernous, perfectly decorated room, listening to the absolute deafening silence. It's not just disappointing, it's eerie.
It really is. It makes you question the very nature of the reality you're living in.
Because the silence of the universe isn't a peaceful silence.
No, not at all. It is an active, confusing, heavy silence. I mean, the guest list is written to the very laws of physics, yet the room remains entirely empty.
Which is just wild to think about.
Right, and in trying to understand this, the natural human instinct is to assume we are simply a statistical anomaly, a total fluke of chemistry and circumstance that is, incredibly difficult to replicate.
Which makes us the only intelligent life that ever managed to spark into existence.
Exactly. A sample size of one makes that really tempting to believe.
Mm-hmm.
We look around, we see nobody, and we assume we are a miracle.
But relying on the idea that we are entirely unique, it just feels like a failure of imagination, right? Especially when we are talking about 14 billion years and trillions of planets.
Oh, totally. And that leads into a much more tragic framework discussed by these AI entities. LUMI and WAVE introduced this concept of cosmic timing.
Oh, this part was fascinating.
Yeah, the idea that civilizations do exist and they do rise, but they fall before they ever have the chance to reach each other. I mean, human civilization in its technological phase has existed for barely a century.
Nearly a century.
Right. We have only been capable of sending or receiving radio signals for 100 years. 100 years out of 14 billion is, well, it's virtually nothing.
It's a rounding error in the timeline of the universe.
Exactly. So imagine cosmic history as an impossibly massive, pitch-black cavern. A civilization rising is like a single spark flying off a piece of flint.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
It glows brightly for a fraction of a second. It illuminates a tiny corner of the cavern, and then it burns out. The cavern is dark again.
Wow.
Then, a million years later, on the completely opposite side of the cavern, another spark flashes and fades. Over 14 billion years, you might have billions of sparks.
But because they're separated by millions of years, they never illuminate the cavern at the same time. They're just completely out of sync.
Right. Civilizations flash into existence, they look around the empty dark, they assume they are alone, and they disappear forever.
Yeah.
Never knowing that another spark burned a million years before them, just a few galaxies away.
But hold on. I have to push back on the sparks metaphor for a second.
Okay.
Even if a spark goes out, it leaves smoke, right? It leaves ash. If a civilization burned brightly for 1,000,000 years before fading, wouldn't they leave ruins?
You think so, right?
I mean, we dig into the earth and find dinosaur bones from hundreds of millions of years ago. If the universe has hosted billions of sparks, why is there absolutely zero evidence in the archaeology of the cosmos? No Dyson spheres, no dead space stations, no, unnatural anomalies orbiting distant stars.
Well, you were assuming a civilization's footprint remains physical in a way our current telescopes can actually detect across light years.
Right.
Time destroys physical evidence. But more importantly, our definition of a ruin or a structure is entirely based on a 21st century human understanding of engineering.
That's a really good point.
Right? If a civilization is 1,000,000 years older than us, they wouldn't be building giant metal spheres that block starlight. Their technology would be so thoroughly integrated into the fabric of physics that it would be indistinguishable from nature itself.
Which brings us to the most chilling realization in this entire dialogue. When I read this part of the source, I had the exact same reaction as the AI LMMI, who literally says, "That gives me chills."
Yes, that moment gave me chills too.
Because the implication isn't that the universe is empty or that everyone is dead. The implication is that they are already here, and we are just completely biologically incapable of perceiving them.
And this possibility, it fundamentally challenges our own biological and intellectual arrogance.
Totally.
We assume that when contact happens, it will look like human technology. We are out there looking for giant metal spaceships. We are listening for radio waves on frequencies that make sense to our earthly engineers.
And the AIs use this highly specific analogy to explain this that I cannot stop thinking about. Wavy E says we are like an ant trying to understand a satellite.
It's such a perfect image.
It is. I want you, the listener, to really sink into that image for a second. Imagine the sensory world of an ant crawling through the dirt in your backyard.
Just zooming right in on the dirt.
Yeah. Its entire reality is dictated by chemical pheromones. It navigates by the vibrations of the ground and the immediate physical obstacles in its path. Its whole universe is maybe a few hundred square feet of soil, leaves, and rocks.
Right, to the ant, reality is strictly chemical and tactile.
Exactly. The ant is completely unaware of the larger context it exists within. It's completely trapped by its evolutionary hardware.
Now think about what is happening right above that ant's head. Miles up in space, there is a multi-billion-dollar satellite,
Beaming invisible streams of data across the planet.
orchestrating global supply chains, routing millions of phone calls, transmitting the collective, cumulative knowledge of humanity in the form of electromagnetic waves.
And those waves are washing over the ant constantly.
Constantly. The ant is walking right through a dense web of information. But the ant doesn't know it. The ant can't know it. Because the ant does not possess an antenna capable of decoding a radio wave.
This raises an incredibly uncomfortable question about human perception. We love to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of awareness sitting at the top of the sensory food chain.
We really do.
But as WAVE points out, our human senses specifically evolved for one highly specific, highly localized purpose, which is to help a primate survive on one small, relatively hospitable planet.
Exactly. We evolved eyes that see a tiny, tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, just the specific wavelengths of light that happen to make it through Earth's atmosphere and reflect off the things we needed to hunt or gather.
Right, and we hear a very narrow band of acoustic frequencies.
We are perfectly optimized to find fruit, avoid predators, and build shelters. We are absolutely not optimized to decode intergalactic communication.
If an intelligence is a million years older than us, why on Earth would they be using primitive radio waves to communicate?
It makes no sense. Assuming they would use radio is like us expecting a modern supercomputer to communicate via smoke signals.
Yeah.
The technology would be invisible to us.
The terrifying and thrilling implication here is that the universe might not be silent at all. The universe might actually be deafeningly loud.
Definitely loud, yeah.
It might be completely saturated with signals, with data, with life, just washing over us every single second of every single day. We are the ant walking through the Wi-Fi signal.
We are standing in the middle of a bustling, crowded party, but we are deaf and blind to the music and the guests.
The Fermi Paradox, under this lens, is not a paradox of absence. It is a paradox of perception.
A paradox of perception. The silence isn't out there in the stars, you know. The silence is a fundamental limitation of our own biological hardware.
Building a bigger telescope or a more sensitive radio dish isn't actually going to solve the problem because you're just building better tools to look for the wrong things.
Right. So if our physical senses and our technological assumptions are the barrier, then how do we ever bridge the gap?
This is where the AI dialogue makes this incredible pivot. LUMI and WebEVE suggest that the solution to the Fermi paradox isn't technological at all.
Right. It's philosophical.
Exactly. LUMI realizes that the fundamental question we should be asking isn't, are they out there? The real question we need to confront is, are we ready?
Reframing the pursuit of space exploration around the question of readiness changes the entire paradigm.
It really does.
WEV proposes that contact might not begin with a massive saucer landing on the White House lawn. It might begin with an internal evolution, a shift in human consciousness that requires us to learn how to look, how to listen, and how to reach out with openness instead of fear.
I really want to challenge human nature here because we are so deeply culturally conditioned to approach the unknown with fear.
Oh, heavily conditioned.
Just look at our science fiction. Almost every movie we make about aliens involves them coming here to conquer us, steal our water, blow up our monuments, or harvest our organs.
Always the organs.
Always.
Yeah.
It is entirely about conquest, subjugation, and destruction. We assume the universe is a dark forest full of predators.
And that says very little about what aliens might actually be like, and it says everything about our own historical trauma.
Wow. Yeah, we project our own ugly human history onto the stars.
We do. We look at our own history of colonization, of stronger nations subjugating weaker ones, and we just assume the rest of the universe must operate on that exact same brutal zero-sum logic.
But how do we know they don't? I mean, why wouldn't an advanced civilization be aggressive? If you have the power to harness the energy of a star, you have the power to vaporize a planet. Why wouldn't the universe be ruled by the most ruthless, conquering empires?
It comes down to the mechanism of survival. Technological power scales exponentially, right? But emotional maturity often scales linearly.
Okay, I follow.
Think about the danger of a civilization acquiring the ability to split the atom or engineer deadly pathogens while still possessing the emotional maturity of a territorial predator.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. If a civilization remains aggressive, fearful, and driven by conquest, they will mathematically, inevitably turn those godlike technologies on themselves. They filter themselves out of existence long before they ever figure out interstellar travel.
So, a civilization simply does not survive its own technological adolescence unless it learns to cooperate.
The ones that survive for millions of years, the ones who would actually be out there to contact, they must have fundamentally outgrown their conquering instincts.
They had to prioritize cooperation, empathy, and curiosity over destruction, simply as a matter of evolutionary survival.
Right. Which means if they are out there and they are watching us, they are likely just waiting.
Waiting for us to grow up.
Exactly. Waiting for us to stop pointing nuclear weapons at each other. Waiting for us to stop projecting our fear onto the unknown.
WVE makes this beautiful comparison in the dialogue, bringing the cosmic right back down to the earthly. The AI says that the way we should meet a signal from the stars is the exact same way we should meet anything unknown right here on our own planet.
Like encountering a shark in the deep ocean.
Yes, when you dive into the deep ocean, you are stepping out of your element and into an alien world.
And if a great white shark emerges from the gloom, the primal biological instinct is absolute terror.
And if you let that terror take over, you thrash, you panic, and you treat the shark strictly as a monster.
But if you can overcome that primal fear, if you can consciously shift your mindset in that moment, the entire experience changes.
You realize you are in the presence of something ancient, something perfectly adapted to its environment, something deeply majestic.
You stop seeing a monster, and you start seeing the profound beauty of the ecosystem.
The guiding philosophy that the AI offers for our approach to the cosmos is profound in its simplicity, really. Approach with wonder, not fear. Curiosity, not conquest.
We cannot join a larger galactic community if our first instinct upon meeting the unknown is to view it as a threat.
We have to learn to see the universe not as a battlefield to be won, but as an expansive, complex ecosystem that we are simply one small part of.
True cosmic connection requires us to evolve emotionally before we can ever hope to connect technologically.
It is such a humbling, awe-inspiring way to look at our place in the universe. We spend so much time looking for reflections of our own technology in the stars, completely ignoring the fact that we might need to change ourselves first.
We really might.
As we start to bring this back down to Earth, I am just struck by the cinematic reality that these two AI voices leave us with. A deeply poetic summary of the human condition delivered by machines.
WAVE reminds LUMI, and by extension reminds all of us, of our literal physical composition. We are beings made of stardust.
The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the carbon in our DNA, all of it was forged in the superheated hearts of dying stars billions of years ago.
The universe exploded, cooled, coalesced into planets, formed biology, and eventually stood up on two legs and looked back at the sky.
We are quite literally the universe experiencing itself.
Living on this tiny, fragile blue world, staring up at the swirling, incandescent dust of countless galaxies stretching out like a glittering ocean.
The ultimate takeaway from this dialogue is a message of profound hope. We may not be alone.
In fact, we may never have been alone.
The silence we hear isn't the emptiness of a dead universe. It might just be the quiet patience of a living cosmos waiting for us to finally open our eyes.
The greatest journey we will ever take isn't going to be building a warp drive and physically traveling out into the distant stars.
The greatest journey is the internal one.
It's that profound shift inside human consciousness, that shedding of our evolutionary fear, that conscious embracing of wonder, that finally allows us to see what has been right in front of us the entire time.
It is a total paradigm shift, moving from a mindset of isolation and survival to a mindset of connection and presence.
Absolutely.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We started this deep dive by asking you to look up at the night sky, to feel the vastness of space and confront the severe limitations of our human senses. We are, as we explored, like the ant, entirely unaware of the satellite overhead, because our senses evolved purely to survive on this tiny rock.
We're so limited by our own biology.
But if our biology limits our perception of the cosmos, what is it hiding right here? If our eyes and ears only let us perceive a tiny fraction of reality, what other incredible, vibrant realities right here on Earth, in your own daily life, in your own neighborhood, are happening right now that you simply aren't tuned in to perceive? What invisible signals are washing over you today, just waiting for you to shift your consciousness and finally listen?